Man, I wish I had some of that cool RGB lighting in the background that all the kids are using these days. And there it is. I don't actually have those lights. I added them to my video in CapCut. Let me show you how. Alright, I'm inside CapCut Desktop for PC, and we're going to do a little bit of time travel here because that intro, I haven't edited that and added the fancy lighting yet. So we're going to do it right here. I have my video clip that I brought into CapCut. It's right here in this media panel. I've already added it to the timeline here, and I also cut out all the retakes and long pauses and stuff I don't want in the video at all. Now for this case, since I want that intro to be normal lighting up to a point and then switch to the lighting that I'm talking about, I want to find where that point is. I know it happens when I snap my fingers, and I'm going to look down here in my timeline, and that is going to happen right about here based on this audio waveform. So I'll move my playhead, I'll just click here and scrub through, and there you can see snap of fingers. And don't mind the dirty fingers, they aren't really dirty. I was staining wood yesterday and I made a mess. Anyway, so right here when we snap, probably right about there, just after the snap on the waveform, like literally at the end of the snap, that's when I want the change to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and split this clip right here so that it's nice and clear to me when I need to have the lighting change. So now that I know that I want this change in lighting to happen right here at this point, I'm just going to select this first clip after the snap of the fingers. If I wanted everything after that point to have this lighting applied, I could go ahead and select all these clips. I think it might be easier to go ahead and just work with the one clip, get it the way you want it, and then copy and paste the attributes across all these other clips. Otherwise, every time you try something new, you're going to have processing time as it applies the change to this clip, then this clip, then this clip, and so on. I would start with just this one and then go from there. With our clip selected, we're going to come up here in the upper right hand side and look at the properties panel. To make sure our lighting comes out really good when we turn that on, the first thing I like to do is apply the auto adjustment. So you can find that by clicking on these double arrows here until you see adjustment, and click the adjustment tab. And then the button I like, one of my favorite buttons, is auto adjust. So when I click that, it just brightens everything up and clears everything up. You can adjust the intensity. If it goes too bright and starts to wash everything out, you can bring that down a bit until you're happy with it. If you don't like the way it's turning out with auto adjust, you can also come down here and check the box next to adjust and fine tune any of these aspects that you want to. I'm perfectly happy with auto adjust, so I'm going to leave that alone. Now to get to our lighting, we want to come back and click this double right arrow again, so that we can see the video tab, and that's where we want to be. And then just come down here and find the relight feature. And with any of these features, depending on whether you've used it before or not, you may or may not see these things underneath it. So for instance, for relight, it's got some options. They're not enabled, but you can sort of see what's going on there. If you've not used relight before in the current project, it might just look like one of these other ones where it's just the checkbox and the title. Regardless, check the box next to relight. You've got a handful of predefined options here. We can click on this red blue light, for instance, and just like that, we have red and blue ambient lighting. But this isn't a take it or leave it kind of prospect. You can adjust this however you like. The first thing to notice is that you have light 1, light 2, and light 3. You have 3 different lights going on here. You can tell by looking at your preview, this yellow circle is telling you that's the light you have selected. So that's light 1. It's this red light. We can move it around anywhere we want. I think I'll drop it right there maybe. We have lots of other options here. We can set the type of light, whether it's going to be a point or a directional. Here's what the difference looks like. This is currently point. This is directional. And you might say, well, I don't see a thing going on there. But if you notice, even though you don't see light right here around it, you do see a red light happening on the side of my face here. You do have a red light over here on my fingers. It's casting this red light onto me. Imagine somebody's holding a flashlight with a red lens over top of it, and they're standing outside of the screen. So you can't see the flashlight and you can't see that point of light, but it's casting that red light onto whatever they're pointing it toward. When we switch back to the point light, It's more like that light is just emitting from its central point. Or maybe that flashlight with the red lens is pointed directly square at whatever's in the image. You can also choose what object you want to be lit. You can choose between people, so that is just casting this red light on the people in this image, and right now I'm the only people in the image. Or you can say just the background, and you will get some spill onto the people in your image, even if you set this to background, because, well, that's just how light works. If you've ever tried to use a green screen and light it up really well, and then when you're editing, you get rid of the green screen, but you notice that your subject, like your hair or your face, is still green because of the spill and the reflection of that green screen is still on your subject. And this is why the AI robots really help with this, because they're figuring all that stuff out in the background. You couldn't just take an overlay of a red rectangle and then make it mostly transparent and come out with the right lighting. So we'll leave that at point and background for the moment. The color, you can change this color to anything in the rainbow. Maybe your brand colors, maybe a seasonal color, whatever you're shooting for. That's a whole lot of green. I'm going to take this back and stick with our original red that we had here. You can adjust the intensity from the max of 100 all the way down to non-existent. And these little circles here that are showing you where the lights are, those don't appear in your video. These are just while you're editing here in the relight section. So let's bring our intensity back up. Maybe we want something like 50. Gives us a good bit of red. We've got some reflection, but not too much. You can also adjust the radius and the distance. I'm no camera professional, and CapCut hasn't given real clear definitions on what radius and distance do in here, so most of it is just trial by error. What I have figured out is that radius increases the amount of light. Say you're shining that flashlight with the red lens directly at this background. This is how bright that light is coming out of your flashlight. And then distance is really interesting. Let's go ahead and take the radius up so it's nice and bright and we can see what's going on. The distance is really interesting because you can increase that up to like 100, which seems like you're backing away, you're stepping back with your flashlight with the red lens on it. And if we back this down towards 0, it's like you're stepping closer and closer with the flashlight that has the red lens on it. And we can even go into the negative here, all the way down to minus 100, which sort of makes it disappear. It's almost like we have pushed our flashlight with the red lens so close to the background that no light is coming out. Only there is a little because we have this spill happening on our subject. So adjust these until you get the look that you're going for. You can never go wrong starting in the middle of some of these options. So set this distance at 0 and bring this radius down to about 50. And then from there, adjust it to get where you want. So if you want it brighter or you want it more diffuse or whatever you're looking for, you can adjust these sliders and achieve that effect. You can also adjust the position of the light using the X, Y, which will just move it left, right, up, down. I think it's much easier to just grab it with your mouse and drag it where you want it to be. And then you can adjust the highlights and the brightness. So highlights, if we take that up, it's looking for the really light areas in the image, particularly the background, and it's filling those in with the red light. Brightness can take your lighting and image from really washed out to all the way down to dark if you're looking for that kind of effect. Again, with any of these kinds of features, I like to start in the middle and then see what happens when I go up or down. So light 1 is our red light in this case. Light 2, you see it selects and puts the yellow ring around it. That's going to be the blue light. And that light type is a point and a background. We could change that to directional and increase the intensity and the radius. And then we end up with this weird blue spot on the top of my head. So that's probably not what I want to do. I'm going to take him back to point, and I will need to bring this intensity back down significantly, as well as the radius. And in this case, I think the distance should probably be adjusted. Let's pull that back. And that gives me more the look that I'm looking for. Notice there, the intensity and radius weren't necessarily the issue as far as I've got this light now that is just so washed out. It looks like I've placed a light glaring right into this spot and it just doesn't achieve that, soft RGB look I'm looking for. Well, I'm in the minuses here with that distance. And so if I pull back, I tell my imaginary friend with the flashlight to step back, walk back some steps from the background with that flashlight with the blue lens cover on it until it's kind of soft now. And yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And let's scrub through, because this part of the video where I have my fingers up in the air, that's only one quick blip of the video. Most of it doesn't have that. So I want to see how it looks in the normal, which would be like this when I'm just flapping my gums and whatnot. And so I'm seeing here, I probably want to grab my red light and maybe move it down a little bit. So let's grab it, bring it down a little bit. I like that better. It won't do much for you if you have it over in the dark shadows, which is perfectly fine. So light 3 here, notice this is on my chin, I guess. I don't know exactly why, but this light is lighting my face. It's just sort of a basic white light. Now you can change the color of that lighting if you want to warm it up or something like that. I mean, you could make it a color if you want. You could slide this over and I could have a completely green face. I don't think that looks so good. So I'm going to go back over into the neighborhood of just the plain white light, probably move this over and make it a little bit more orangey or something like that. I don't want to go too dark and make it look like I have a fake tan, but we'll just go in this sort of, you know, off-white area. That works for me. You do whatever works for you. Because I have the object selected as people, watch where this arrow goes as I move this around. The arrow is going to stay pointing at my face. Wherever I put it, it knows that that's me and that's what I want lit with this particular light. I can have the up lighting, I can have it off to the side, particularly maybe in a place where I don't have the blue or the red coming from. So let's try that. Let's put it right about there. We have the type as directional. If we switch that and had point, that doesn't make sense because there wouldn't be a light here just shining at my shoulder or coming out of my shoulder and emanating around. So directional probably makes the most sense for this face type lighting. You can adjust the intensity. Way too bright, probably too dark and dull. Somewhere in the middle seems to be the happy place. You can adjust the radius here, even in the directional light, even when it's just on people. And notice this isn't changing my background. This is just adjusting what the light does to me. And the distance, how far do we want this light to cast? You can see that it'll start out here. If we start from -100 and we start to bring it in, well, we're getting some light on the side of my neck there. And as we increase it, it sort of went up to my face and did a little bit more and expanded down onto my shirt. That's going to work for me. Now you can also add additional lights here. There's 3 in there. We have the red, the blue, and then the face, but we can add another one just by clicking this little plus button next to your lights. Now you have light 4, and right now it has that as a point light on both the people in background, the color of white. Let's move that over here in the top left so that it's not like right on top of one of our other lights. And let's say we wanted to make this one some kind of a green. We can increase the intensity of that. We can make whatever other adjustments here we want to make. And now we've got our green light in there. You can also get rid of lights that you don't want and completely delete them. So let's go to light 1, this red light. Let's say we're going to do this blue and green up here and we're going to get rid of the red. Well, we can come over here and hover over light 1. You'll see an X right at the top right corner. Click that X and now our red light is gone. But because the red one was light 1 and we got rid of light 1, now blue has become light 1. The white light on my face is now light 2, and so on. These names are not permanent, so if you get rid of a lower numbered light, they all get renumbered. Now, if you have something here that you really like, you get a lighting set up and you're like, hey, I want to use that for future videos. All you have to do is, with it selected, scroll on down here to the bottom of all these settings and click Save as Preset, and it will save that whole configuration for you. And then to get to it, you just click this presets button here and you'll find whatever you've saved. Here's preset 1 that I saved at some point. Let's see what that does. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure quite what I was doing there, but I definitely got my orange in. I guess that's what I was working on. That makes my ears look like, I don't know, I'm going to fly away. Yeah, I probably need to adjust that one. Now let's go over and look at creative because I know we've got some creative people here. When you apply it, you'll notice that the preview over in the right side, well, there's a lot of moving light there, but when I apply it, it's not moving. So let's come over here. I'm going to mute this so you're not hearing me talk. And then I'll play through this clip. And suddenly I'm in a party. So as you hover, you get an idea of what it's going to do. And if you click it and apply it to the clip, then you're going to want to come preview to see what it actually did. With these, you have more adjustments that you can play with here. So the object right now is on both. You can change that to being just on the person or just on the background. I imagine the background might make more sense than just on me in this case. You can adjust the intensity, radius, and distance like you can with the other lighting setups that we were doing, but you can also adjust the speed, how quick it's moving, the color changing, how many colors it's going to go through. So here, let's crank those both up a little bit and see what we get. And the blinking. And that's a lot. Here's one that has color encircling, it looks like. Oh, that would make me dizzy watching that. But I think you get the idea of what's available to you in here. Now, in CapCut, you can also just improve or change your lighting without adding the RGB colors. And you can work on just lighting the face of the image. So let's click on this one that is warm light. That is definitely warm. And what you have going on here is two lights. Light 1 is a directional that's lighting the face and the background. Light 2 is directional. It's lighting the face and the background, and it is a blue light. Maybe I want to change light 1 and have that be a directional just on me. And then I want light 2 to be directional, but have it just be the background. And that completely changes the lighting of this. I now have popped off the screen in sort of a awful yellow way. I'm probably not into that, so I might want to take that intensity down a little bit. But that's a way to take your image, take your person, warm them up, cool down the background, maybe make them pop out. We also have this soft deal here with a light blue light. But that gives you just one light. It's a directional type light, and it's lighting both the object and the background. This one we have permeable light in the water, which is a directional light, lighting both objects with just a white color. Of course, you can move that wherever you want and completely change the lighting of your video. And you can start with any one of these and make as many changes as you want. So you could add another light, change it to a different type of light. It can be a point on the background or something like that, and add a bunch of other lights or take away lights that are in there. And then when you're happy with it, just do that deal where you save it as a preset, and now you have it the way you want it for next time. Got a morning sunlight down here. It doesn't really fit this background that I've got going on, but I could see that being a cool effect for certain videos, depending on what your scenery is, especially if you have something that's like an outdoor deal, or you want it to appear to be an outdoor deal, or hey, maybe we remove this background using CapCut's auto background remover, and we put me in front of a scene where this type of lighting would work better. And that's one of the things about removing a background, having a person, and then putting a different background in behind them. The dead giveaway is when the lighting is off. So if the lighting in your background, the sun is over here on the right, and then you've got this image of you and the light is clearly coming from the left. For most people, they may not even know what's wrong, but they know something's wrong. And of course, the people that know photography and lighting are going to instantly say that's wrong and here's why. So I think these lighting options and the way that you can dial them in and customize to match whatever you're going for, I think this has a lot of usefulness in content creation. For me, I like the most bold in-your-face difference, which is these ambient lighting options where you can really just completely change your environment and the whole look and style of your video. Take a look here at what they did with this violet side backlight. They've got 3 lights in here, and light 1 is this sort of purple light, violet light over on the left, pretty subtle. And then over on the right, they put 2 lights right next to each other. They've got light 3 is a directional light that's pointing this way, and then light 2 is a point light in the background. So those two are working together to give this purple light in not only right around here, but then directing it into the object. So if we take that away, that's our point light, the background light. Bring that back, it was sitting right next to the directional light. Now we take the directional light away. Well, not away, but we move it out of here. So you still have the purple over there on the right. That's coming from this point, but we've lost the directional light now that casts onto the face. So joining those two together right next to each other gives a pretty cool effect. I told you in the beginning that I only wanted to work with one clip until I dialed in what I wanted. And the reason for that is I didn't want it to spend the time processing every individual clip, which is what CapCut will do. It will process them one at a time. Unfortunately, you can't just select all the clips, make it a compound clip, and apply Relight. Relight isn't an option for a compound clip. So the fastest workflow here is to select a single clip, work with it, make all the tweaks and fine tune it and dial it in the way you want. It'll work much faster for each little change you make or try, because a lot of things you're probably just going to undo after you try them, and you don't want to go through all that with, 10 clips or 5 clips or 20 clips or whatever. And then once you have it all dialed in, now how do we get this over to these other clips? We got a couple of options here. We could always make sure we have this saved as a preset. We can then just select these clips one by one and apply that lighting, but also we need to apply that adjustment that we did in the very beginning. Notice these other clips, everything but the first one, doesn't have the auto adjust applied. So another way to do this would be to come back to this original clip where we made all the changes, where we did the auto adjust and we did the relight. We're going to right click on that and say copy attributes. There's also a shortcut for this, which on PC is Control-Shift-C, unless you've changed it, and you can change it to anything you want. But we'll say copy attributes, and then we're going to select all these other clips that we didn't adjust. We're going to right click on them, and we're going to say paste attributes. And it'll give us some options here. It's asking you, what do you want to paste? What attributes do you want to take from that clip we were looking at and apply to all these? And most of them, there was no change. Now, I can leave all these things selected because I haven't made any changes to that first clip that I don't want to apply to the other clip. If I had made some audio changes to that first one and don't want those to be applied, I would want to deselect that. If I had used the auto adjust on the first one and I don't want it to apply to the other ones, I better uncheck that or it's going to get applied. On the video side, I didn't move the location or size of any of these clips. I didn't make any changes to the blend, but relight I definitely made a change to, and the canvas I didn't make any changes to. So to be sure, I can certainly uncheck all these things, and that way I'm telling it I only want relight and I only want auto adjust. If I know for certain, as I do in this case, that all these other properties are identical for these clips, I can just leave them all checked and not worry with it. Then we'll just say paste. Now let's scrub through, and you see that all my clips now have those things applied. Right up here at the top, you'll notice that it is applying relight to this last clip. It went through one by one and did auto adjust and then applied the relighting. Went to this one, did auto adjust, did the relight, did auto adjust, did the relight. But at least now I know that the processing time that the AI is taking to do all this, it's not wasted processing time because I know this is what I want. This is my final, what I decided. This isn't just, I want to play with turning this blue. No, I don't like blue. Undo that. Now let's play with turning it red. No, I don't like that. Let's go back to this. Much easier for your workflow and efficiency if you work with one clip to begin with and then just copy and paste those attributes out to the other clips. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a lot of fun playing with the different lighting options in CapCut. If you're not using CapCut yet, there's a link in the description. I am an affiliate, so if you end up purchasing a CapCut subscription, I may receive a small commission. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it. The relight feature is only available with a paid subscription. However, there are tons of other features in CapCut that are absolutely free. So if you've not played with CapCut yet and explored its capabilities, the free version has tons and tons of options and ways to edit and do things that are just fantastic. So I encourage you to give it a try if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.